Greetings and welcome there, people of YouTube. This is Essence of 40, and yes, I'm going to be discussing a topic you guys have repeatedly sent to me through private messages as well as public messages, i.e. in how you keep sending me links to these blog posts and articles on the fact that Hamza Tzortzis, the Islamic Dawah apologist I have been tackling vigorously for the past month and overall during the past year and a half, has had his details located. They've been found on the Madison list, i.e. the list given to us by the hackers who broke into the Madison website. Now, this of course raises a lot of interesting ideas. The fact is that this news is not news to me, really. You see, I was privileged in actually knowing the person who found these details, and yet we all decided, all of us who knew this fact, not to go publicly with it ourselves because, for one, lawsuit, we could be facing a lawsuit for it, and two, we did not want to lead to any human harm. You see, Hamza has a history of preaching to his followers that, yes, capital punishment, i.e. beheading, is okay to fight certain crimes, therefore, even if his public opinion has changed, which he claims it has, we don't know about the opinions of his followers, you know, and it's all good and dandy preaching the beheading of the other people that you dislike, but when the people behind you begin to become disenchanted with you, that can be a potentially lethal situation, and we did not want that. We did not want that at all. So in fact, the rationalizer contacted Hamza, let him know. Hamza then published a public statement which made several claims about how, of course, it was a hacker, as every icon who has been found on that list has practically stated. So yes, that's what we are going to discuss, because now he has chosen to make it public himself. I have no issues discussing, you know, the evidence, what we can see and what we can't see, and raising questions with this and that about what he says. So that is why we are here. Now, I think we should understand that if he was hacked, there are two primary reasons I can actually think of as to why. Now, one of course is the very direct financial reason, and then of course we have the ideological reason. Now, I'll come back to these, but first of all I wanted to go over some general problems I have about what he has said in his public statement. I mean, of course, home address, email, etc., publicly accessible. But your full bank details, including the 3-digit security code on the back of your card, which every British credit card has to my knowledge, not so easy. So if this was a hacker, we are certainly looking at the work of a professional, because that is the whole point of that printed security code. You get asked it anytime you buy anything online, etc. It's just a verification sort of thing. So, you know, we are definitely looking at a professional if that is the case. So that's one issue I'm having, because, you know, I'll come to the reasons I have issue with a professional later. But then there's also the fact that this person lives in Australia, or was at least in Australia when they, you know, made the account, they set up the subscription. And surprisingly, Hamza was also in Australia at the time. So someone must have prepared all of Hamza's details, got physical access to his card and seen the, you know, 3-digit security number, and then whilst he was still there, filled out all these details and set up an account, etc. That is incredibly far-fetched, because I mean, it's either a very small chance that they lived there, and the other alternative is they flew there just to do this hacking and make it look like it was actually him. The simpler option is, of course, it was simply him. So there's that, and there's also bank security. You know, I can't be the only one. When I started using my card in Norway, every time I attempted to purchase something online, I would always get asked for a authentication code, either sent to me via email or via mobile. Now in the shops it was different because, you know, the shops you buy it straight away and you go away, but I'd always receive an email stating a purchase has been made in a different country. Now that's changed because Barclays has slowly learnt my, my purchasing patterns. They've learnt that I travel to Norway 3 to 4 times a year, so they don't flag it up anymore. But a one-off trip to Australia and a subscription service, purchased in Australia. I don't buy for a second that a bank would not flag that up. I mean, Google flags that up if you attempt to log in from a different country. I know, because when I was working on the Atheist Hub with some Americans, we were having issues where it kept trying to get us to, authenticate our logins because it was going back between American and British logins. Then it finally solved itself. And then I went to Norway and the whole problem started again. So Google is doing this, and Google isn't a banking service. A bank service is designed to protect your money. So I don't believe for a second that they would not send, an email at the very least saying that this, obscure activity has been going on. So that's another big issue I have with this. So let's get down to, the financial and ideological aspects that we're talking about earlier. If it's financial, why not just empty his bank account? That doesn't, that strikes me as weird. Or why only use it this once? Why not use it for several small things if you did not want to be caught or look irregular? It doesn't make sense. And then why sign up with his email? Because yes, he is correct in stating that you do not get a verification email, but you still get an email stating, welcome to our website, all of this sort of stuff. He claims it went to his junk file, but how would a hacker know that? Why not just sign up with their own email? Because that wouldn't jeopardize them at all. They would be the only one to receive that mail. They would still be getting the money from Hamza, and you'd have less chance of finding out. Yet they're apparently so professional that they can get his 3-digit security number. It just does not correlate. These two things do not match. Why do that? And also, why set it to his house? Why not just set it to a random house? So if any solid mail does appear, someone's like, well, this is not mine, this is weird. Rather than Hamza going, hold on a second, this is signed up in my name. I'm going to call the police on this and we're going to track down the person who did it. You could have used a third address and not their address, so they remained anonymous, not Hamza's address, so he didn't get the, letters, etc. It doesn't quite match for that reason. So that leaves us with the ideological reason, which of course is this idea that someone did this to defame Hamza. In which case they're not just a professional, but they're also clairvoyant. If they really wanted the money, they could go to James Randi and get the $1 million. Because honestly, how could they predict when they set up the account in October of 2014 that nearly a year later, a group of hackers would publish all of the details of the people who have, purchased the service of Madison? How do they figure that one out? Unless you are claiming that they themselves were the hackers of the website, in which case we just enter conspiracy grounds here. This whole thing, this whole game which has caught so many large icons was purely done for Hamza. That's paranoid. The only way this could have actually defamed him in any other way was through the bank statements if Mrs. Tzortzis herself went through the bank statements and found them out. That is the only other way, without the hacking, that this could have defamed him. But going back to earlier, This hacker is so professional, they managed to get the 3-pin security number off the back of his credit card, and yet they had no plan here. They didn't understand that, oh, possibly the service which is meant for adultery will have a discrete bank statement name, as Hamza notes. You know, that doesn't sound like the plan of a professional hacker who either coincidentally lives in Australia or travelled to Australia to do this. It really does not match. So everything just seems to break apart when you consider everything together, as opposed to a few little ad hoc responses here and there. It really does not seem to form together for a coherent defense. At the moment, there is only an absence of evidence for a hacker. Now, he does claim that, oh, I have some, hindsight, or maybe my phone was hacked, but beyond that, doesn't seem to be anything. So, yes, I thought I'd also read you the description of his profile, which read, "Compassionate male seeks friendship. I long for a sincere friendship with the ability to connect physically and mentally. I would consider myself compassionate and someone who thinks a lot." Yeah. But again, all of these little things, like, why at all would you sign up with Hamza's personal email? That doesn't make any sense really at all. Unless, of course, you knew beforehand that all these details would be released. Because even if Mrs. Tzortzis had found these bank statements and gone through all of that, the email, she wouldn't know that. So the hacker could just left that out, that's a waste of time. It only makes sense that this is a hacker pulling an ideological framing if they knew months beforehand that there was going to be hacking. And this is what leads me to believe, and I do note believe here, I'm not declaring this as fact, that there is an absence of evidence for a proposed hacker. There just does not seem to be any credible suggestion that this is anything but Hamza himself. And yes, you can say, oh, well, you don't have the evidence of that. Yes, we do. We have all his details here. Currently, we are looking into whether or not there was actually a hacking, etc. Because recently, the hackers have mentioned that they are going to start publishing private conversations and the photos sent between individuals during those conversations. So maybe we'll be able to find out whether or not Hamza was the person who set up the account, or if he was indeed hacked. But yes, that is my personal opinion at the moment. It looks very bad for Hamza. There's no evidence of a hacking to be discussed. So yeah, that does raise questions, and it certainly means that we should keep updated. So anyway, of course, there are naturally going to be other people discussing about this. I know that the Magic Sandwich Show intends to discuss this during their show, therefore I will likely link the show once it is archived in the description down below if you wish to watch that and learn a little bit more from their perspective. So yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think down below. Possibly share your thoughts on this. And again, I've only chosen to discuss this since Hamza made it public himself, and I've only discussed the information available to us. I've not added anything or made anything up. I've discussed my issues with some of his defenses, but beyond that, I've not said anything that, is illegal. I just want to make sure Hamza understands that. Having reservations about his level of honesty from my personal experience, as well as the way that his proposed excuse falls apart, is not slander, is not libel, so don't even try that card, okay? With that said, this is Essence of Thought. Take care and out.